underneath your precision, your devotion, your instinct to improve, and your ability to hold details that others miss, your shadow whispers a dangerous question. What if I'm only lovable when I'm fixing something? What if I'm only safe when I'm useful? Your soul came here to bring order to chaos, to heal through presence, to remind the world that love can live in the small things. But your shadow says you are only as valuable as your last task, your last success, your last act of service. So you give and give until giving becomes erasure, until helping becomes hiding, until your ability to care becomes the very reason you forget to care for yourself. Your shadow shows up as control, as criticism, as the voice in your head that never lets you rest because there's always more to do, more to fix, more to clean, more to analyze. You are your own harshest judge. Not because you hate yourself, but because your shadow is terrified that if you are not perfect, you will be abandoned. If you are not needed, you will be forgotten. In relationships, your shadow manifests as S, overfunctioning, as offering solutions when someone just wants your presence, as shutting down emotionally when things get messy because you haven't learned how to sit with what you cannot fix. You may feel unseen unless you're serving, unworthy unless you're earning, and unsafe unless you're controlling every moving piece. But your healing begins when you realize that your value is not transactional, that love does not need a job description, that being is enough even when nothing is being improved. Your wounds are tied to feeling overlooked unless you were helpful, praised only when you excelled. So you became the one who never dropped the ball, the one who caught everyone else's pieces, the one who cleaned up messes you didn't make just to feel included. But now your soul is learning to belong without proving, to be loved without effort, to sit still and know you are already worthy. Your daily life reflects your shadow when rest becomes guilt, when peace feels suspicious, when mistakes feel like moral failures. You may organize yourself into numbness, plan yourself out of intuition. You may overwork to avoid emotion, overthink to avoid uncertainty, and call it productivity when it's really just a fear of being still. But healing comes when you pause anyway, when you let the dishes sit, when you walk away from the list, when you feel your feelings instead of editing them. In work, your shadow leads you to over-deliver, to take on more than is fair, to equate performance with identity. You may hide behind competence, afraid to admit you don't have it all together, because your role has become your mask. But your soul came here not just to serve, but to lead with integrity, to embody grace over grind, to offer your gift with clarity and calm, not burnout. Financially, your shadow may fixate on savings, on security, on self-denial masked as discipline. You may resist abundance if it feels unearned or disconnect from pleasure if it feels impractical. But your soul is learning that money is not morality, that you are allowed to enjoy what you've worked for, that receiving is as spiritual as giving. Manifestation works when you release the need for perfection and allow for possibility. When you take aligned action without needing to control the outcome, when you let your trust match your effort. Spiritually, your shadow can lead you to seek systems over surrender, to favor tools over trust. You may rely on practices so tightly that you forget to feel your own truth, but your soul is asking you to soften, to listen beyond logic, to connect with spirit not just through structure, but through stillness, through softness, through the sacred mess of being human. Socially, your shadow hides behind helpfulness. You may be the one who shows up early, who brings the extra snacks, who remembers every detail but forgets to share your own needs. You long to be seen, but fear what? They'll see if you stop performing. So you stay behind the scenes and hope someone notices your heart behind your efforts. But your healing begins when you let yourself be known, even if it's messy, even if you're not at your best, even if all you bring is your presence. Childhood may have taught you that love is earned through excellence, that emotions are dangerous, unless they're processed. That mess is shameful and chaos means failure. But now your soul is learning that healing doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like sitting in your own undone pieces and choosing to love them anyway. Decision-making for you is thoughtful, grounded, and methodical. But your shadow may paralyze you with overanalysis. You are learning to trust your first instinct, to let your body speak before your mind picks it apart, to let good enough be good enough. Motivation for you comes from service, from purpose, from knowing your work matters. But it must not come at the cost of your own nervous system. Your aesthetic is clean, intentional, quietly beautiful. But your healing begins when you allow imperfection. When you let beauty be lived, not just curated. When you let your space reflect your inner softness, not just your outer structure. Your body thrives on nourishment, rhythm, sleep, and movement that soothes your system. Forgiveness for you takes time. But your shadow may withhold it from yourself long after you've given it to others. You must remember that you are not your mistakes, that your worth is not conditional, that you deserve the same grace you give so freely. Virgo, your shadow speaks in judgment and control, but your truth lives in kindness and calm. When you stop trying to fix yourself and start choosing to care for yourself, you become the sacred space you've spent your life creating for everyone else. I hope these words bring clarity and inspiration to your day, my dear stargazers. Remember, the stars guide, but you hold the power to shape your destiny. Now I'd love to hear from you. Did today's words resonate with you? Share your thoughts, experiences, or even your own cosmic insights in the comments below. Let's create a little community of starlight and support, because together, we shine even brighter. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more daily cosmic guidance. Until next time, keep dreaming big and manifesting magic.